Good day, everybody. Hello. Welcome to From Conflict to Connection with me, Peter Burton. I am the From Conflict to Connection coordinator, working for Brighter Futures for Children in the Partnership and Protection team. The program used to be called, and is called generally, Reducing Parental Conflict. I was keen to change the name because, yes, whilst conflict is there, we really want to get a degree of movement away from conflict. So what is the programme? Well, it's a national programme funded mainly by the Department of Work and Pensions, started way back in 2019. It's aimed at practitioners, paid and unpaid, who are engaging with families where conflict between the parents and carers is, and here's the key kind of phrase, is intense, frequent and unresolved. And that's partly because of the impact on the health and well-being of the adults, but in particular, it's the impact on the children's well-being and development that has really driven the programme, both nationally and, of course, locally. I was providing training for Brighter Futures for Children in my freelance capacity, but since October 2022, I've been in this part-time limited hours post of coordinator of the programme. And the aim, again, is to enhance the knowledge and skills of those people who are engaging with families in order to model and demonstrate to the parents and the carers better ways to disagree. In short, to learn how to disagree, have difference of opinion without being disagreeable, personally attacking or insulting. Could we move to the next slide? Thank you very much. And again, this is really just reinforcing what I've said. There's a few slides here, not loads. This intention of this webinar is to give you a flavour of the one-day training that we provide, and to obviously encourage, once the presentation and the slides are finished, any questions, any comments you want to make or ask of me. Very happy to help. Yes, please. Thank you. Here's something that some of you may be familiar with. It is a model that Bruce Tuckman created back in 1964. Yes, that is true, 1964. And it was related to his interest in the way that groups and teams were created and how they formed and what happened. It's my suggestion to you that it's it's a flow, a development that all relationships go through, and it's when people come together, whether it's in a close relationship or whether it's a work team, there is this first stage of forming. But the second bit, which is the most relevant to the From Conflict to Connection program, is what we call the storming place, which is where we can often get stuck and in what I call a kind of a whirlpool or a vortex. And one of the things that we do on the training, of course, is to seek to unpick this and develop people's knowledge and skills, to become aware of this kind of pattern, if you like, but also what we can do about it. Yes, move on to the next slide. Be great. So here's a little bit of an explanation about how come we get into conflict that is intense, frequent, and unresolved. And I'll just pause there for a moment. I'm making an assumption that you can see it okay and you can read it okay.
I certainly can. So I'm presuming that everyone else can.
Fingers
Yes.
crossed. Yep.
Yep.
Check
Excellent.
out. That's great. Thank you. So these patterns, these habits that we have, we are creatures of habit, are we not, as humans? Some of which are fine and absolutely okay, of course. Other times, those habits are not very helpful. And indeed, they can lead to behaviours that add fuel to the fire. And one of the things, we move to the next slide, Flick. One of the things that we do on the training is to introduce, I'll call them activities or tools, which allow practitioners to broach a conversation with the parents and carers that they're dealing with, whether they're together or apart, um, which enables that knowledge and those skills to start to be talked about. Because I don't know about you, but no disrespect to the family I grew up in, I didn't learn any of this there, or indeed in the schools I went to, or most of the workplaces I've worked at. Why would anybody, it really, it's a question I ask, why would anybody be any good at dealing with conflict in a way that works for everybody? Yes, please. So one of the other things we explore is, well, what is our role? And it boils down to three things for me. The interpreter. So we'll often be presented, and this is not new news, I'm sure, to any of us, we'll often be presented with people we are working with who are have a problem frame outlook, i.e. they tell us what the problems are. And our interest really is to see whether we can move people from a problem frame, whilst acknowledging that those problems are real, to something that's a little more productive. It's a rather strange expression, next to a tuning fork. In other words, what we're looking to do is to, with our enhanced knowledge and skills, we're looking to model the kind of behaviour that we're encouraging, the kind of communication that we're encouraging by the way that we communicate with the parents, the carers. And lastly, the pattern or habit interrupter, the phrase which is not mine. I liked it when I heard it, so I use it. It takes two or more to make a pattern, but only one to break it. That's often when people say, yeah, well, we both of us have got to do something different. And ideally, yes, but it's not essential. Yes, please. Thanks. So here's another thing that I like to throw into the mix, as it were, which is to challenge what I believe we've been encouraged to believe about what the purpose of conflict is, i.e., to make it like a competitive sport. So we seek to have an opponent, an enemy, if you like, and the idea is to beat them, to win, and get our own way. And these are the three thoughts that kind of help to reinforce that. I'm right, you're wrong. As soon as you agree with me, all will be well. And of course, no surprise to guess what the other person is thinking too. So this informs this vortex or whirlpool that we can often get trapped in the storming place of an emerging, a developing relationship. Yes, please, Flick. Thank you. So if that's not true, then what is true? Well, to me, the purpose of conflict is to reveal and understand our own needs and those of others. And if we're able to do that, and what typically is needed is a little bit of awareness raising and an increase in knowledge about what our needs actually are. In my experience of working with a lot of adults over the years, I find that we are not particularly needs literate, I would call it that. And how do we know what our needs are, whether they're being met or not? Well, that's what our feelings are mainly for. If we're experiencing pleasant feelings, then that will mean our present needs are being met. If our feelings are uncomfortable or unpleasant, that will tell us that something's gone missing, if you like, and a key need, a present need, has gone missing. Yes, please, Flick. Thank you. So, of course, if we're not evaluating or assessing our words and actions are based on what's right, wrong, good, bad, well, what else do we do? Because again, that seems to be the popular way or the common way, that we've learned to assess and evaluate words and actions, and everyone else seems to be doing it. So if we don't do that, and get the rewards or sanctions, then, well, we're stuck then, aren't we? Well, what else is there? And one answer to that is on the next slide. So this one just is asking a slightly different question, not about how right, wrong, good, bad we or anyone else is, but how well are everyone's present needs being met? And if they're not being met so well, how about we look to, oh, the word I've used there is strategies, but how about we seek to try a different way to behave, a different thing to say that will work for everybody? Seems I don't know how that strikes you. We'll find out in a minute when we're talking a little bit more freely than we are at the minute. But I don't know whether that sounds an impossible task or too far-fetched, or, well, I'd suggest not. Of course I would say that, wouldn't I? Yeah, please. Thanks. And here's another example of how we seek to engage parents and carers in identifying what I call maybe the hot spots in a day, looking at, I'm assuming, the routines or the common pattern of the day, and seeing whether we can help a parent or carer identify which bit of a day might be more challenging or tricky. And again, as a means by which we can engage with a conversation. I think we've got something on the next one that also, yeah, they're very, very common. I'm sure we're familiar with it, maybe in our own lives, dare I suggest, that we will often talk in terms of you, she, he, they, etc., with a complaint, it's part of the problem frame. And part of our the training encourages ways to reframe these kind of statements. Some of us will be familiar with that anyway, or these, and how to do that as well. But I don't like to assume too much. Moving towards the last few, I think now, and again, we're looking to encourage some constructive, more positive aspects that will reinforce our affirming, if you like, of each other, rather than our criticism, where all of us, I'm sure, would agree that we're very good to judge and criticize ourselves in particular, I think. But as you can see, it needs to be weighed up with some other things that are more appreciative of ourselves and each other. And yes, thanks. And again, a more specific one that you may know about, we may know about already. Not everyone does, far from it. Gary Chapman, a minister in America who has counseled a number of married couples over years, realized that there were certain things that were coming up where people didn't believe the other person loved them because they have a different way of giving it and showing it. And again, some of us may be familiar with that, but if not, I heartily recommend a little investigation. You can take a quiz, in fact. No at no cost, and you won't get sort of hooked into dozens of emails afterwards. But if you don't know, you may find it of use. Okay, we're almost there, I think. So, oh yeah, here we go. So this is the sales pitch part of the presentation. We've got 2 full-day trainings. By full day, I mean 9:30 till 4 o'clock. They're in person and they're held at Reading University, Cedars Hotel. And as you can see, if you'd like to find out more or to book a place, by all means, get in touch with me. And again, just to make clear that if for whatever reason working situations don't allow for a full day, I'm very happy to look to tailor and customize the training into an arrangement, a schedule that would work better for you and any team that you're part of. Well, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for paying that attention. And I think we can now halt the recording, if I remember rightly. And
Thanks, Peter. I'll stop that now and then we can put cameras on and have a conversation. Thank you.
thank you very much, Vic. Much appreciated.